You've got it locked to HTLA Radio 1, New York.
This program is intended for mature audiences only. If you have any homicidal or suicidal feelings, please consult a doctor before listening to this program.
Of course, we've got the one and only Jenny McCartney in the booth, the social media goddess herself, pushing those buttons, making the show go again today. And, the co-hosts. I guess we'll go with the co-hosts. We got some of those, of course, coming to us live via satellite, as always, from his perch, I guess, high atop the Mill Bay Studios in beautiful Mill Bay, British Columbia, Canada, is the one and only Louis Lawless. Yes, high atop there. Are you there, Louis?
You know how to spell my last name on the check, right? It's Louis Lawless.
Yes, we got that. Don't worry.
Oh, can we cuss? Can I cuss as I always do on the show?
Now you go right ahead, sir. We've got you covered.
It's about fucking time. Move on.
All right. And also joining us from his wonderful, beautiful, stately, I must say, apartment in Manhattan here in the big city is the one, the only, what's his name again? Oh, yes, Gilbert Godfrey. Are you ready, sir?
What the fuck?
Huh? Okay.
I'm ready.
Good. All right.
Yes.
All right. Gilbert Godfrey joining us from his lovely home here in the city. And also joining us is, of course, the one, the only George Takei, all the way from his home in Los Angeles, California. George, thank you for coming.
I think it's a treat to be here talking with you.
Yeah. There you go. And thank you. That's awesome. Now, is this thing on?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's on. Is this on? Is this on? I can't tap it. I would tap it, but I won't do that. So.
There you go.
That's
well.
Fine. Only one, Meeps. That's us. The only one, HTLA Radio 1, New York. And you're here and you're listening. And this is Straight Talk. And, yeah, we've got 90 minutes of springtime in the city stories for you tonight. And, yeah, lots of social injustice stories. I'm in the mood for ranting. We said we weren't going to do a rant show, but here we are, and it's going to turn into a rant show.
It is, yes.
I can't help but be angry about the stories. You know, there's just too much to be excited about. And everybody's got to bring us down with all this stuff.
Stupidity.
That's right. And, well, we'll talk about that, too, because we've got a great show coming up for you that we've got in development for a little while now, and we're going to launch that Wednesday, and we'll talk about that a bit later. That's pretty exciting. That's called The Spotlight with Kate and Crush.
Absolutely. And tonight, a bit of a free-for-all. We're going to tear it up for you on tonight's Straight Talk. Everything from the day's events to some politics goodiness and the struggle, of course, to maintain home and work. We'll get into it all tonight. Professional businesswomen that I talk to, they do the work, but it's just the corporate work, and they think that's enough because, damn it, I've just put 12 hours a day in today in my job, and
right.
They feel deserving of something else, not to come home and take care of the kids, and not to come home and take care of the husband, and not to come home and take care of anything else.
Right.
It's time for them to kick their feet up now and go hit the bars and relax or something because they've earned it. Right. And I'm here to say that as a man, we do that all the time. We always have. We go out and work our full-time jobs or more.
Right.
And we come home and we're still expected to be the dad. We're still expected to help the kids with the homework. We're still expected to have activities and stuff with our family and have that interaction and put that time in.
Sure.
Maybe that's why we get 100% of our pay instead of 70% of our pay.
Right. Right. Well, you're not... Well, in the tradition now, men are also expected to do half the housework and half of all that stuff, whereas it used to just be before, you know, the garbages and the lawns and all that stuff that you do, the man stuff, you know. So, yes, and unfortunately, in some cases, in a great majority of the households now, more often than not, the women are working and I have so many, friends that I know that their husbands take care of the kids and drop the kids at school and do the school activities and do the projects and wash the clothes. And
but with that comes the dreaded beta male, because there's not a single one of those men that I have met that I would look up to in battle.
No, of course not. And this is to our thinking, to our thinking. And while it took us years in practice, it was an ideology that we shared from the moment that we met anyway.
Yeah.
The whole, that was our vision for what the ideal family was.
You've got it locked to HTLA Radio 1, New York.
Ah, yes. That's the great sounds of home. Welcome to Shamrock Talk. No, I'm kidding, of course. I told Jenny that yesterday to get that other thing off of there, and I didn't care if she put on the Gaelic music, just get it off of there. So she's taken me literally. Yes, and put Gaelic music abounding. Ah, yes, there it is. Well, I guess while the Gaelic music abounds there, I'll tell you about the show today. Of course, it is 3 p.m. Eastern in the big city, New York. And that does mean, yes, as the girl said, you do have it locked to HTLA Radio 1, New York's best talk. And I, of course, am your host, Chris Crash Jesus Taylor, in the house with you today for today's Coffee and Cigarettes, the Thursday Double-Double. And the one, the only Jenny McCartney, she be in the booth, pressing the buttons, making us go. Well, speaking of going today, we've got a lot of places to go today. It's going to be a 90-minute show. Yeah, today on the big show, we're going to go long, 90 minutes, because there's just too damn much good news today. Wow. For example, today's top story, yes, 2 women charged in New York City today in a raid with terrorism and bomb making. Yeah, I'll tell you all about that. Also, Iran has reached a tentative nuclear agreement. Oh, yeah, the unthinkable, the thing that they thought they could never do, it looks like they're doing it, but now, well, of course, Obama is threatening to ruin the whole damn thing. Also, we'll tell you about the unarmed black teen who was first denied and then ultimately given a transplant. Then, of course, ultimately dies in a police chase as California orders its first ever water reductions. And as if that weren't enough, we've also got the story about a man who died drinking too much iced tea and 3 members of a Delaware family who were poisoned by a banned pesticide. How'd that happen? Well, we'll tell you all that and so much more on today's show. So come on in and grab a cup, have a seat, and light one up, ladies and gentlemen. It's coffee time. What do we got rolling for you in the old coffee shop today, you might ask? Well, all kinds of good stuff. Of course, we've got Jenny McCartney, former social media goddess, in the booth pushing those buttons and making us go on that PreSonus 2442 digital mixer. Again, if you'd like to check out the latest and greatest in audio technology, you want to check out PreSonus, and you can check them out at presonus.com. Also, today's show is, of course, as always, brought to you by the fine folks at Tim Hortons, New York City. Now with 8 fine locations in the city to serve all of your coffee and baked goods needs. You want to get down there and try them out because, hey, Tim Hortons always fresh. Yes, they are. None of this 7-day-old coffee you get at Dunkin'. Yeah. Let's see. Well, as we always like to do on this show, we like to inform you that we are... we are? No. Yes, we... This show is, sorry.
Pesticide Procast.
She won't do it unless I say the right thing. That's how she keeps me on point there, yeah. Well, as usual in this show, we do have three guests/co-hosts on this show. Yes, the first comes to us all the way from beautiful Mill Bay Studios in beautiful Mill Bay, British Columbia, Canada. All the way up there on that island over there on the west coast. Yes, that's where the man, the one, the only Louis Lawless of LDL Films currently resides. And, of course, Louis having a long-spanning career with Stephen J. Cannell Productions in Los Angeles, doing such shows as Riptide, The A-Team. I believe they even worked on the Belisarius productions of Magnum P.I. Yes, he did. He has since, of course, retired, though, and he's now living up in the mountainous regions there, up in the deepest, darkest western Canada. And he doesn't come to us via the telephone, no, because that's apparently not good enough for him. He comes to us, of course, via satellite. Louis, are you there, sir?
Sex is only the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, indeed. You definitely are there. Mm.
Oh, can we cuss? Can I cuss as I always do on the show?
Well, of course you can, and we've got you covered, sir. The button stands by.
It's about fucking time. Move on.
All right. Well, moving on. Our second guest/co-host comes to us right from, well, just about 8 blocks down the street here. The one, the only Gilbert Gottfried. Gilbert, are you there?
What the fuck? I'm ready.
Yes, good. Okay. And bringing up the rear end, of course, in all of this is the one, the only former governor of California, the one and only 7-time Mr. Olympia Challenge winner there. The one, the only Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold, are you there, sir?
Look, we always had fun. I think that no matter what you do in life, if you do bodybuilding or if you do hosting a show like you do here,
right,
you got to have a good time. Forget about it. You got to be passionate about the job that you have and go all out. Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, and that was a hell of an intro segue there.
Yes.
Well, doing as we always do on the show, we've got to give Gilbert his contractually agreed to time in the spotlight. We got to do it. So without further ado, Gilbert's going to sing you a little ditty. Here we go.
Na 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 na, ba ma 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 ma. Oh yeah. Who wants to grow up? Who wants responsibility? Oh, no, not me. Who wants to show up and work until you're 93?
Yeah. Now everybody
says you're running wild. The teacher's calling you a problem. Ooh.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. When you say that, you get away with it. If I would say that, it would be all over.
Yes.
Well, that's what do you do when you live in a shoe? I tell you, that's just what we got to do because Gilbert said so.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's about fucking time. Move on.
All right, Louis. Well, thank you. Yes, get us back on point and moving on. The top story, of course, today in the old coffee shop here is that 2 New York City women have been arrested on terror charges this morning. Federal authorities arrested 2 New York City women on Thursday for terror-related charges for allegedly trying to make a bomb. Yes, the women were arrested in Queens after an undercover investigation determined they were trying to make a homemade bomb. The Associated Press reported to us today, citing John Miller, head of New York Police Department's counterterrorism operation. Miller said there's evidence the woman looked at Islamic State propaganda on the Internet, but there did not appear to be any specific terror plot or that they had direct contact with any militants. The public was never in danger, he said. The women, former roommates, were identified in court papers as 28-year-old Noelle Valentezas and 31-year-old Asia Saduki. WNBC TV and WBC TV reported the two were to appear in Brooklyn federal court later today. The complaint says that from about May 2013 to present, The women conspired to use a weapon of mass destruction, an explosive device somewhere in the United States. Siddiqui possessed propane gas tanks and instructions for how to transform them into explosive devices, the complaint said. Valentes expressed violent jihadist ideology and repeatedly expressed interest in terror attacks committed in the U.S. She praised the September 11th, 2001 attacks and said being a martyr through a suicide attack guarantees entrance into heaven, authorities said. Valentes has been obsessed with pressure cookers since the Boston Marathon attacks, of course, in 2013, and made jokes alluding to explosives after receiving one as a gift on her Facebook, she said. Well, there you go. That's the lovely, crazy, whack jobs we live with here in the city. Yeah.
I think you have sharks in both tanks.
Well, we do. Absolutely. Got to agree with that for sure. Louis?
The music is fantastic.
Right.
Oh, you got to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, we hear the music too, Louis. We do.
Wait a minute, I got lost. H-T-L-A. Oh, H-T-L-A.
Right.
Hell is that?
That would be the sound of your career in the toilet.
We're 5 steps away from winning the Academy Award.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we didn't.
And you didn't, of course not. Yeah.
Bullshitters, never keep your mouth shut, always hustling, always looking for something to do and putting things together. That's a American. Look how they took the country away from England.
Yes. And it's, as we know, all about England.
Yes.
It is, for certain. But actually, what was supposed to be our top story today is, of course, U.S. and Iran reach a historic nuclear, quote, understanding. That's the headline today. Iran and 6 world powers on Thursday agreed on key parameters for resolving a long-standing dispute over Iran's nuclear program that has left the Islamic nation economically isolated. European Union Foreign Affairs Minister Federica Mogherini, who formally announced the deal, called it a decisive step because it places limitations on Iran's ability to enrich nuclear fuel that could be used in a nuclear weapon. She said Iran would not produce weapons-grade fuels. Secretary of State John Kerry and Iranian President Hassan Rouhani earlier tweeted, because, of course, as we all know, Twitter is your number one news source. Yeah. Yes, they tweeted that negotiators had agreed on, quote, parameters of a deal that would allow them to conclude a final agreement in June. Big day. EU P5+1 and Iran now have parameters to resolve major issues on nuclear program. Back to work soon on a final deal, Kerry tweeted shortly before making the formal announcement in the Swiss city of Lausanne. Key parameters of a nuclear deal were reached, Rouhani tweeted. Found solutions ready to start drafting immediately. Foreign Minister Javad Zarif tweeted United States and 5 other world powers. The agreement aimed at curbing Iran's nuclear program in exchange for lifting tough financial sanctions came just 2 days after the original self-imposed deadline for the deal. It will clear the way for tough talks on final, technically complex written agreements to be drafted June 30th. Some elements of this agreement may not be made public, but conveyed privately to governments and to Congress, which is weighing new sanctions against Iran because of concerns it will try to develop nuclear weapons in secret. Iran has, of course, insisted that its program is solely for peaceful purposes. The announcement followed marathon negotiating sessions between the Secretary of State John Kerry and Iraqi Foreign Minister, along with other negotiators. The 18 months of nuclear talks pitting Iran against the United States, Britain, France, Russia, China, and Germany have been aimed at simultaneously fashioning a deal to curb Iranian nuclear programs that could be used to make weapons while working out the timing for lifting economic sanctions, sifting Iran's economy. Iran has pushed for an immediate lifting of sanctions imposed by the United Nations and United States and other major powers. The U.S. position has been to keep most sanctions in place for years and to lift them gradually based on stringent inspections to make sure Iran honors the terms of the agreement. Earlier, Zarif said that a draft agreement backed by all participants was a critical last step towards reaching a firm resolution. He told reporters that a final negotiated deal will hopefully take 3 months to finalize, hopefully less. One late snag in the deal appeared to be the desire by Kerry to bring back Washington's specifics of a deal to use in an effort to convince critics in Congress not to impose new sanctions, while Iran purportedly preferred only a vague joint statement. The agreement to keep some parts of the deal private appeared to address Iran's concerns. And talks in recent weeks have played out against a backdrop of strong opposition by most Republicans in Congress who back additional sanctions, as well as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. On Wednesday, Netanyahu said that an international community must insist on a better deal than the general outline of an agreement leaking from the talks. A better deal would significantly roll back Iran's nuclear infrastructure, he said. A better deal would link the eventual lifting of the restrictions on Iran's nuclear program to change, or after a change in Iran's behavior. So there you go. That's the big news. Bet you never thought you'd heard that, because I certainly didn't think I was going to hear that at all. Yeah?
I remember being on your radio show in Chicago.
We're really going to go there again? Yeah?
I would say that it was several movies that failed.
Uh-huh.
And but at the same time, I have to say that I did not regret making any of them, because at the time they all sounded good. At the time, to me, they all seemed like they were great career moves. You know, it's always easy to be smart in hindsight and to look back and say that was a mistake, but it doesn't help you. I mean, I think the important thing really is to learn from those mistakes and then to move forward in a better way and in a smarter way.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, you know, life is short and you want to pack in as much as you can while you live, rather than just exist.
Are you done?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. While I appreciate your comments, Arnold, I don't know what they have to do with anything.
Yeah.
You know, you're. I mean, yes, you are a guest on the show, but you're also, damn it, a co-host, man. You're supposed to be sticking with the issues, what we're talking about.
Yes.
You know? He's
They get f***ing crazy because all of a sudden nobody loves them.
Yes.
Yes, they do, Louis. They certainly do indeed. Arnold, what am I going to do with you?
He needs love, Chris. Come on.
Well, I know.
You got to dispense more love from yourself. All these people are hurting here.
Of course they are. And that's what I'll do. I'll dispense love. That's it.
And I remember we hung out afterwards and had a wild time.
Are you still on the Chicago thing?
Yes.
Oh.
And I remember, too, when we were in the alleyway, pants zipped up, there was this one, sleazy-looking guy who walked by.
There always is.
Who was staring at us.
Oh, yeah.
And you turned around, and, he was what? What's your problem? And you said, you don't give a shit.
Of course. Oh, of course. Well, okay, yeah, that's good.
And I remember, and this is why I feel I have a real connection with you, because in the alleyway, when that's the beginning, she bent over in the alleyway, and you inserted yourself, and then she started to blow me. And my erection was kind of a semi-erection because I kept looking at you.
Oh, yeah.
When you're standing there trying to get a blowjob and looking at really hard, and then I remember.
Oh boy.
I had a hotel room, so we both went up there, and you went first.
Well, of course.
You were my opening act.
Well, absolutely, Gilbert. I loved that. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
Sex is only the tip of the iceberg.
I know, Louis. I know it.
So I could see you feel very uncomfortable talking.
Geez, you think?
Yeah.
Now there was another time.
Oh no.
You were when I know you're very secretive about your drug problem.
No, not anymore.
It's about fucking time. Move on.
Yeah.
All right, well, that story was brought to you by, of course, Tim Hortons, New York City. You don't just get the news here at Coffee and Cigarettes.
Yes.
No, we give you a whole lot more, don't we?
Yes.
Oh, you crazy little man. Well, listen, it's 3:20 now. Time to go for our first commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to tell you, about more Iran news, of course, and that would be how President Obama is threatening to screw the whole thing up. Yeah, he is. You'll know what I mean. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
You've got it locked to New York's best talk, HTLA Radio 1.
What if there was a coffee that was sourced from some of the world's most renowned growing regions? Abundant with rich, fertile soil. What if this coffee was picked at the perfect moment, then packed meticulously and shipped carefully to be roasted under the watchful eye of coffee masters? What if it was expertly blended, ground, and sealed, ensuring maximum flavor and freshness, then brewed in small batches and always served fresh within 20 minutes, just the way you like it? Now, what if this coffee just happened to be the coffee you already know and love? Tim Hortons. Always fresh. Always great tasting coffee.
Man, I've been to a lot of places over these past 50 years. Seen the whole true north strong and free. 'Cause I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. I've been to Cooksville, Stouffville, Baynesville, Bowmanville, Bonnieville, Unionville, Oakville, Dunville, Brockville, Boucherville, Melville, Drummondville, Kentville, Grenville, Morinville, Maryville, Parksville, Stephenville, Sackville, Spring Hill, Westville, Walkerville, hanging on a windowsill. Hey! He said, wow, that's a lot of places. I said, hang on, there's more. I've been to Moncton, Picton, Shannon, Vernon, Stellarton, Hamilton, Nipigon, Nobleton, Yorkton, Brighton, Bolton, Beaverton, Brandon, Edmonton, Walkerton, Wyerton, Granby, Miramichi, Charlottetown, Burnaby, Yellowknife, Whitehorse, Corner Brook, none of it. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. I crossed the prairies bare, man. I breathed the mountain air. I've traveled, I've done my share, man. I've been everywhere, man. Check it out. Ottawa, Wawa, Mattawa, Chippewa, Moose Jaw, Oshawa.
When we arrived at our hotel in New York, the porter was so incredibly careless with our bags. And the room they gave us, it was beautiful. A broom closet. But the worst part was the shower. My wife drying herself with the Egyptian cotton towels. Shower curtain defined that whole vacation for her. Don't just visit New York. Visit TripAdvisor New York.
With millions of reviews, a visit to TripAdvisor makes any destination better.
Some said the U.S. has lost its innovative power. We said America is lighting the way as the innovation nation. Singular insights, superior execution. That's the power of global connections. Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Voted top global research firm 2011, 12, and 13.
I've been so inspired by being in New York because everything from what people are wearing on the street to the way they're interacting with each other, to drive through the West Village at night and you see a couple kissing on the street, or you see someone fighting outside their apartment, or you see so much humanity on a daily basis that even if you're not inspired by your own life that day, you can be inspired by someone else's life.
You got that long hair, slicked back, white t-shirt, and I got that good girl face and a tight little skirt. And when we go crashing down, we come back every time, 'cause we never go out.
There's only one place to get more Taylor. We're New York's best talk radio, HTLA Radio 1.
And another time, you were going to buy drugs from your pusher, and you were like a block away, and then somebody walked up to your pusher first and shot your pusher.
Oh, my God, he's becoming black. I like it. Do a little rap here, too.
What about you, Arnold? You must have been into the drugs.
I remember when I was running for governor, and we had this press conference, and one journalist thought he was really going to be tough on me, and he's going to catch me on something. He says, Arnold, tell me now, didn't you smoke dope in the 70s? And I said, yeah, and I inhaled it too. Well, legal or not legal, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's what I did.
Illegal or not illegal, that's what you did. Well, yes. It's always good to get that from the former governor.
Use power. That's why power is corrupt, and it is. We see it every day. We see it in every job. It's the same thing.
Well, that's true, Louis. Can't argue with greatness. Welcome back to the big show today. Coffee and cigarettes for your Thursday double-double on HTLA Radio 1, New York's best talk. I am your host. Yes, I am the one, the only Chris Crash Jesus Taylor in the Studio 2 for you today. Along with the one, the only Louis Lawless, Gilbert Gottfried, and yes, the Governor. Yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger is here today, of course.
Yes.
And man, what a show. Currently 65. Wow, 65 degrees in New York right now. The sun is shining. The birds... Well, no, the birds aren't tweeting. They're still kind of trying to thaw out and live. But they're making it, I think. They're starting to move around a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always a good scene there. And don't say anything, Louis, because I happen to know for a fact that for the last 2 months you've been looking at cherry blossoms and everything. So.
It's just life, and I love doing it. I love doing these kind of stories anyway.
Yes. Love, like the love of money. Yeah.
Can you give me any help for $25,000?
See? There we go.
If I go a half an hour, do I get $50,000?
Well, yeah, I think you should talk to Arnold about that. Talk to old Arnold about that. Well, moving on, of course, with the historical pending agreement there between Iran and the rest of the entire planet. The nuclear agreement means more wrangling ahead. Now that world powers have reached a framework agreement with Iran over its nuclear program, Congress and world leaders will, of course, try to influence the ongoing negotiations until a final deadline at the end of June. Negotiators for the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, and Germany have reached an understanding with Iran on the principles of a deal to limit Iran's nuclear program in return for lifting of the crippling economic sanctions that Iran has faced over the last decade. Iran's foreign minister Javad Zarif told reporters this agreement came after a week of talks in Lausanne, Switzerland, and the extension of a Tuesday deadline. Iran's nuclear program will be a priority in several arenas until the next deadline arrives. Well, how's it looking for the old U.S. Congress? You might be asking yourself that question, and of course, HTLA has got the answer. Democratic and Republican leaders in Congress have pledged to push for a vote on two bills that would increase pressure on Iran. One, sponsored by Senators Robert Mendez and Bob Corker, would give a skeptical Congress authority to approve any deal. Other would increase sanctions on Iran after June 30th if there is no comprehensive agreement in place at that time. President Obama has said he will veto the bills because they would derail the talks. The wrangling will begin in earnest April 13th when lawmakers return from recess and decide whether the results of the past week's talks were satisfactory and how to move forward. Gary Samore, a former arms control coordinator for Obama, said he expects both bills to pass but not survive a presidential veto. The emergence of Senator Chuck Schumer as the Senate Democratic leader would complicate matters and give administration skeptics more clout, says Mark Dubowitz, executive director of the Foundation for Defense and Democracies, who has testified before Congress on Iran's sanctions. Schumer, who's expressed skepticism of the emerging deal, is being lobbied heavily by both his pro-Israel constituents and the White House, Dubowitz said. He'll be the bellwether for which way, thank you very much, I can speak today, for which way wavering Democrats ultimately go on this, he says. Well, Israel says Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been a critic of any deal that leaves Iran's nuclear program intact, is likely to continue lobbying Congress and U.S. allies at the talks and across the Middle East to harden their negotiating stance. Now is the time for international communities to insist on a better deal, Netanyahu says. The concessions offered to Iran in Louisiana would ensure a bad deal that would endanger Israel, the Middle East, and peace to the rest of the world. A better deal would link the lifting of the restrictions on Iran's nuclear program to changes in the nation's behavior, including an end to aggression in the region, as well as its support of terrorists around the world and its threats to annihilate Israel, he said. Israel could also complicate the talks by taking action against Iran's nuclear scientists and facilities, which it's suspected of attacking in the past. That would make it politically harder for the Iranians to compromise with Western demands, said George Perkovich, an expert on nuclear proliferation at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Damn it, all these big words. Well, finalizing the details, the difficult talks this week in Switzerland left many details to be ironed out. There's still no agreement on the pace of sanctions relief, whether Iran will explain evidence of past nuclear weapons programs, which it completely denies, and how its adherence to a deal will be monitored. Since some details that were agreed to in principle in past talks were rejected this week, such as the plan to ship Iran's uranium stockpiles to Russia, everything is still up in the air, Dubowitz says. Now, what of this June 30th deadline? Well, the talks have proceeded under a 6-month agreement signed in November 2013 and has been extended several times already and is now due to expire June 30th, just as Tuesday's latest deadline passed. The next one could be too. From the U.S. standpoint, keeping the 2013 interim agreement in place is an advantage because it stops Iran from advancing its nuclear program and building its stockpiles of nuclear fuel. While depriving Iran of significant economic relief, Samore said, there are many problems that could easily make it difficult to get an agreement by June 30th. At that point, I would expect another extension. Mr. Dubowitz agrees. There's no such thing as a deadline in these negotiations, he said. The only deadline, I think, is that the president is concerned about is January 2017, when his second term as president expires. Golf, golf, golf. Yeah. That's what he should be focusing on, but no, is the idiot? No, he is not.
Yes.
No. President Obama will address the new agreement on Iran's nuclear program at around 2:15 today, the White House said. Obama will speak after the formal announcement negotiators in Switzerland that the U.S. allies and Iran have a general agreement with details to be negotiated between now and June 30th. The parties negotiating an agreement in which the allies would lift sanctions off Iran if it gives up the means to make nuclear weapons. Among the issues, the pace at which sanctions might be eased and exactly how to verify that Iran is honoring the agreement to shut off all avenues to nuclear weapons. U.S. and Iranian officials said that the parties have reached political framework that will govern more technical talks in the coming months. A deadline for that final agreement is, of course, June 30th. Before the final announcement, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry called it a big day. Yes. And now have parameters to solve major issues on nuclear program. Back to work soon on a final deal. Yes. And where's the part where Obama screwed everything up? Well, last week, Obama told reporters that he, quote, had confidence that if there's an agreement, it's going to be a good agreement for the U.S. and regional security. And if it isn't, then there probably won't be an agreement, he said. So there will be, I think, significant transparency in the whole process. Par 4. Yeah. And also, he added, of course, that he's delaying his trip to Louisville. Yes. President's trip to Louisville on Thursday has been delayed so that he can address the Iran nuclear talks, which we just told you about. He didn't say much. Par 4. Yeah. Well, the president had been scheduled to tour the technology plants in Louisville and deliver remarks on the economy, but it's been now pushed back. After Louisville, Obama is scheduled to head to Salt Lake City, Utah, where he will spend Thursday night and deliver more remarks on the economy Friday. How does he keep talking about the economy? It sucks. I don't know how you do that. You know, oh, wait a minute. What am I talking about? He's the president. Well, excited Iranians, of course, are tweeting up a storm over these nuclear talks. Yes, the nuclear talks, of course, in Lausanne, Switzerland, have been hit on social media in Iran. A big hit. Iranians, young and old, are anxiously watching the talks grind on with unprecedented intensity, according to Iran observers and hundreds of thousands of social media posts from the Islamic Republic. I can't remember a set of negotiations in post-revolution Iran which has caused such anxiety with people expecting results so much, said Meir Javanfar, an Iranian-born Israeli economic analyst at the Interdisciplinary Center in Herzliya, Israel. Some Iranians are hoping the economy, strangled by international sanctions, gets better. Others are waiting for the news so they can run to the stock exchange to make investments, because as soon as there's a breakthrough in negotiations, the Tehran Stock Exchange is going to go up, Jadvanfar said. As talks approached and then passed a Tuesday deadline to reach a framework agreement on Iran's disputed nuclear program, social media posts have spiked. The talks between Iran and the United States, Britain, France, Russia, China, and Germany would restrict Iran's nuclear program to ensure that it remains as peaceful as Iran claims in return for lifting of those economic sanctions. There have been 460,000 social media mentions as of this morning of the talks, with a reach of over 56 million people from Iran in the past 3 days, says John Tilton, an independent digital advocacy strategist. Men drove the conversations twice as often as women, with posts from across the country, Tilton said. Feels like all of Iran is sitting outside of a hospital operations room worrying Zarif may come out and say, sorry, I did all I could. Are you kidding? Oh. Sorry, we did all we could.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
Power tends to corrupt.
Yes, Lloyd.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
We know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you agree, Arnold? He speaks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone was basically, laughing at me, at those ideas, and which was okay for me, because there was one thing that I had, that is a very clear vision of my goal.
Right. So you've it was your vision to have those anti-nuclear talks. I guess 10 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah? You're going to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, good on you. I don't think it has anything to do with California, though.
Never,
no. But you just went for it anyway. Well,
I'm not going to complain about it, right?
No, you wouldn't want to complain about it. But I don't know. It kind of seems to me like you're a bit of a visionary there. Well, really, Gilbert, he is. I mean, if you stop and think about it, if he had that foresight, 10 years ago. What the hell's wrong with our presidents?
Yes.
Well, anyway, moving on. Yes, millions of Iranians stayed up watching the BBC Persian on Tuesday as negotiations continued past self-imposed deadlines. Kalbasi said people's economic life on the line and want Iran, of course, to come out of isolation, he said. The anxiety was palpable in several tweets on Thursday. Emotions are running high for all Iranians as celebrating sleep-deprived Zarif and his team, eagerly awaiting results. Hashtag Iran talks. Yes, they're... You have to excuse them. They have broken English. That wasn't me. That was actually what their tweet said.
Yes.
Well, although Iran officially restricts access to Twitter, Javanfar said that the public has access to the internet and ways to get around government filters. Yeah, just like my 14-year-olds. One tweet showed two small children watching the news on television. He said, the majority of posts now are a desire for the removal of economic sanctions that have crippled Iran's economy, and not a desire for their negotiations to stand as tough as the regime has been, he said. I don't think people care much about the research and development in centrifuges, Javinder said. People care about in Iran, they actually care about the fact that hospitals in Iran are falling apart. People are so excited about the potential deal, there may be street celebrations after the announcement, which he said would be, quote, a public relations disaster for the regime. Yes. Well, I don't see how it's a bad thing. Well, one of the greatest concerns of the regime is in case a deal is reached, there will actually be street parties in Tehran and other cities. They have claimed that the Iranian public is anti-American and supportive of their nuclear program, but actual display of street happiness would, of course, show that people care more about their standard of living than goddamn Iran's nuclear program. Yeah. Well, and you know, if you actually look at the facts of that, of course they do.
Yes.
You know. Yeah, people are very self-centered, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just that, you know, the things that matter to people are the things that you know are surrounding them in those four walls, and their families and their friends. That's what matters, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think too bad they're so sad, regime. You're going to see partying in the streets if indeed this deal is reached, and I think it's going to go a heck of a long way to stabilizing crap over there for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
Bullshitters, never keep your mouth shut. Always hustling, always looking for something to do and putting things together. That's American. Look how they took the country away from England.
Yes, Louis, it's always about England.
Yes.
Well, listen, it's 3:40. We're going to go for our second commercial break, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to tell you about the teen that was denied and then given a transplant. Oh, I should mention this, of course, the unarmed black teen who was denied and then given a transplant. Well, he died in a police chase today. He did, and I'm not even kidding. We'll be back in 2, gang.
You've got it locked to New York's best talk, HTLA Radio 1.
Man, I've been to a lot of places over these past 50 years. Seen the whole true north strong and free. 'Cause I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. I've been to Cooksville, Stouffville, Bainesville, Bowmanville, Bonnieville, Unionville, Oakville, Dunville, Brockville, Boucherville, Melville, Drummondville, Kentville, Grenville, Morinville, Maryville, Parksville, Stephenville, Sackville, Spring Hill, Westville, Walkerville, hanging on a windowsill. Hey! He said, wow, that's a lot of places. I said, hang on, there's more. I've been to Monton, Picton, Shannon, Vernon, Stellarton, Hamilton, Nipigon, Nobleton, Yorkton, Brighton, Bolton, Beaverton, Brandon, Edmonton, Walkerton, Wyerton, Granby, Miramichi, Charlottetown, Burnaby, Yellowknife, Whitehorse, Corner Brook, none of it. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. I crossed the prairies bare, man. I breathed the mountain air. I've traveled, I've done my share, man. I've been everywhere, man. Check it out. Ottawa, Wawa, Mattawa, Chippewa, Moose Jaw, Oshawa.
It could be 7 in the morning.
Or 10 at night.
In Chilliwack, BC.
Or St. Peter's, Nova Scotia.
It could be Michelle.
Or Mark.
Or Jen.
But whenever, wherever you order that cup of Tim Hortons Premium Blend Coffee,
You know that it's always
Always.
Always. Fresh.
From Newfoundland and Labrador to Vancouver Island, Tim Hortons, a coffee all our own.
You walked into the hotel as a 5. But when she saw the room, you turned into a weird 7. When she saw the rooftop pool, you went to 11. You two should probably get a room. Oh, that's right. You already did. At Planet Earth's #1 accommodation site, Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
Some said the U.S. has lost its innovative power. We said America is lighting the way as the innovation nation. Singular insights, superior execution. That's the power of global connections. Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Voted top global research firm 2011, 12, and 13.
I've been so inspired by being in New York because everything from what people are wearing on the street to the way they're interacting with each other, to drive through the West Village at night and you see a couple kissing on the street, or you see someone fighting outside their apartment, or you see so much humanity on a daily basis that even if you're not inspired by your own life that day, you can be inspired by someone else's life.
You got that long hair, slick back, white t-shirt, and I got that good girl face and a tight little skirt. And when we go crashing down, we come back every time, 'cause we never go out, we never style, we never go out of style. Take me out.
There's only one place to get more Taylor. We're New York's best talk radio, HTLA Radio 1.
I've been on enough radio shows to know that in the middle of an answer, the guy is like checking the boards and looking over notes and talking to other people. Yes. See? Now you're impressed.
Yeah. Well, yes, impressed, of course, Gilbert, but I wasn't actually asking you any questions. I just wasn't.
Well, first of all, you have to understand my mentality.
What?
I love feeling like an outsider. I never want to be one of a million. If I want to be one of a million, I would have never got the body that I got.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but I don't know, at 75 or 80 or however the hell old you are now, all that flab is...
I'm not going to complain about it, right?
Well, yeah, I kind of would.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, go a half an hour. Do I get 50,000?
Oh, yes, Louis, it's all about the money. Arnold will give you everything you want. Okay?
It's about fucking time. Move on. Move on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome back to the big show this afternoon. Of course, coffee and cigarettes, your Thursday double-double. It is 3:47 in the big New York City right now, where it is 65 degrees. Sun shining. The birds are sort of starting to kind of almost move now a bit. They've kind of gotten out of that deep freeze, and things are looking good in the city, I'll tell you. And, what else? Well, hey, it's the 2nd of April. We're going to be, before you know it, we're going to be complaining that the weather's too damn hot. Yeah. And isn't that the way it should be? You know, we're all about that, right?
You being Catholic, you realize that you can have birth control. You realize that?
Birth control. Louis, I was talking about the weather.
Sex is only the tip of the iceberg.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll just we'll take that and we'll move along from there, and we'll tell you about the next outrageous, outlandish, completely I saw it coming. Yes, I saw it coming. Story of the decade right here on Coffee and Cigarettes. An unarmed black teen was denied and then given a transplant, ultimately dies in a police chase. Yeah. Yes, in Roswell, Georgia, an Atlanta area teenager who was first denied a heart transplant and then given one 2 years ago died this week when he lost control of a car he was driving while fleeing police. There you go. You might remember this. Anthony Stokes made national headlines when Children's Healthcare of Atlanta at Eagleson originally refused to put him on the transplant list due to having a history of non-compliance. After a public push from his family, the Stokes was added to the list and went through a successful operation in August of 2013. Police say Stokes, 17, of Decatur, died after crashing a vehicle while fleeing them in Roswell on Tuesday. Well, according to Lisa Holland of the Roswell Police Department, police began the chase after a home break-in on Alpine Drive. An elderly woman said that someone kicked in her door. She ran into her bedroom to call 911. A responding officer noticed a black Honda Accord that fit the description of a vehicle involved in a home invasion, Holland said. When the officer tried to pull over the car, the driver refused to stop and a chase ensued. The suspect lost control of that car, hit a curb and a pedestrian, according to police, and then the suspect struck a pole at the intersection of Humbry Road and Highway 9. Authorities extracted him from the car, and he was taken to North Fulton Medical Center, where he was later pronounced stupid, dead, and black. Yeah, there you go, right there. So now, folks, look for the Twitter hashtag Roswell, Georgia. Yeah. Yeah, Black lives do matter.
Yes.
There they go. Yeah. Well, another fleeing suspect is sorry for a crash that killed a beautiful, and I'm talking beautiful, this woman is a stunning goddess.
Yes.
Beautiful, black-haired, stunning woman. God, wow. I want to go back to that alley with you, Gilbert. Yeah. Well, in Detroit, Matthew Weatherhead stood at the podium of a Wayne County Circuit courtroom, barely able to get out the words to describe how dearly he misses his wife after she was killed when a car fleeing from police slammed into her SUV. I stand here because she can't stand up for herself anymore, he said. She was the most wonderful wife and would have been a great mother. The grieving husband addressed the court Tuesday as Judge Cynthia Gray Hathaway sentenced John McCallum III, 27, of Detroit, to 20 to 45 years in prison for the death of Francesca Weatherhead, 25, of Royal Oak. McCallum took the plea deal several weeks ago in the case. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder as well as fleeing and eluding a police officer. In exchange, charges of home invasion and reckless driving causing death were dismissed. Police say McCallum was fleeing from the police after burglarizing a home in Livoina on October 6th. He crossed into Redford along 6 Mile, and his car struck Weatherland's vehicle at 6 Mile Beach Daily intersection, flipping it over and, of course, instantly killing her. McCallum has been paroled just 2 months before the incident after serving a prison sentence for burglary. McCallum told Hathaway before sentencing that he felt horrible about what happened and thinks about it every day in jail. Well, isn't that what we want him to do? Well, Hathaway said while she sentenced him along the terms of the agreement struck with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, she hoped the Michigan Department of Corrections chooses to keep McCallum locked up for more than the 20-year minimum, saying it was clear he could not be successfully rehabilitated. And yes, indeed, folks, he's black. The Michigan Department of Corrections should seriously and painfully look at your behavior over the next 20 years, she said. I don't see any rehabilitation for you in the next 20 years. I don't see it in 45 years. Angela Vitale, Francesca Weatherhead's mother, brought a photo of her daughter from her wedding day to the podium in the courthouse. She spoke to Hathaway of the pain that she has felt every day since her daughter's death and addressed McCallum, asking him to turn around and look at the photo of her daughter. She said she doesn't believe that he intended to kill her daughter that day and that she did forgive him for his actions, even though he had an extensive criminal history. Your rap sheet speaks volumes, she said. You took the easy way out. Francesca Weatherhead worked for Altria at the time of her death and was driving to meet clients. Her family said that her and her husband had recently bought a home in Royal Oak and were looking forward to starting a family. In addition to the prison sentence, McCallum will be required to pay more than $24,000 in restitution. He will receive no jail credit on the second-degree murder sentence for his time in Wayne County awaiting trial. Wayne County Assistant Prosecutor Raj Prasad said that the other prosecutors have met with Francesca Weatherhead's family extensively over the past few months. He said it's clear that they have stuck together through this whole ordeal. We see the love in this family, he said. And that's a sad case. And you know, it's not just a black thing. It's just sad all around. And, you know, as far as these prison systems go and these penalties and everything else.
Yes.
It just, you know, it's like that thing. I'm talking about the Texas death penalty. You know, I talked to a man who was actually the captain and head of the detail that actually executes prisoners in Texas for the past 14 years. And, you know, he told me that, you know, you killing another for the death of the one, it's not anything that does anything except kill another. And you know, he really doesn't feel that the government has the right to kill because someone else did.
Yes.
I don't know. What do you think, Governor?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
Jesus. How about a comment or something? Why don't you give us some... God, give us some substance, man.
You know, it's always easy to be smart in hindsight and to look back and say, that was a mistake. But
Yeah.
it doesn't help you. I mean, I think the important thing really is to learn from those mistakes and then to move forward in a better way and in a smarter way.
Right.
Because to me, you know, life is short and you want to pack in as much as you can while you live rather than just exist.
Well, yeah, I guess life is short if you're not serving 45 in the state pen. Yeah. Well, speaking of your beloved California.
Yes.
Let me tell you about California. California orders first ever mandatory water reductions, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, the story out of San Francisco today. Drought-ravaged California took drastic steps Wednesday to preserve what water it still has by ordering historic statewide measures that slash the use for highway medians and golf courses that replace millions of acres of lawn with drought-resistant landscaping. Current Governor Jerry Brown stood on the brown patch of Sierra Nevada that should be buried in snow to announce the broad-based initiative to reduce water use by 25%, or 1.5 million acre-feet over the next 9 months. It's a different world we live in now, Brown said. We have to act differently. Well, you know, kudos to him. Smart man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Partially or paltry snow mountain packs, the lowest actually since 1950, means perilously low levels at state reservoirs, which supply 30% of California's May through November water to homeowners' farms, wineries, and utilities. During the past water crises, such as the punishing drought of 1976, each water district was in charge of enacting measures to reduce water use. The state mandate is a nod to both the severity of the situation and the likelihood of its persistence, says Dave Feldman, professor of policy planning and design at the University of California at Irvine. The growing consensus is that may be the new norm for at least the next few years, so we'll have to get used to it, he says. And you can't plan for a drought during a drought, he says. Months ago, California homeowners were urged by their local water utilities to aim for a 20% reduction in their water use at home. Fines accompanied actions such as washing off sidewalks or driveways or washing a car with an uncapped hose. There is, as yet, no talk of a 2-minute shower, but the new mandate is likely to increase the number of limitations on water use, with an accompanying increase in the price per water used beyond a certain number of gallons per month. Yeah, it's all the money grab, see? Yeah, we're going to have to jack up the old prices because we've let corporations poison too much of our water already. Screw you.
Yeah.
That's it. That's pretty much exactly it. Well, what this announcement does really is communicate to people how serious this is, says Doug Parker, director of the California Institute for Water Resources. We'll see more tiered pricing, more restrictions on landscaping. We need to deal with the simple uncertainty of how long the drought will last. Among the measures, Brown will have the California Water Resources Control Board oversee water reduction on the part of golf courses, cemeteries, and other... Wait a minute. The hell do dead people need with water? They're dead, you know?
Oh, that's why power is corrupt, and it is. We see it every day. You see it in every job. It's the same thing.
Well, I don't see why the Undertaker needs our water.
They get crazy because all of a sudden nobody loves them.
Yes.
Well, I guess that could be it, too. Yes. There we go. Cemeteries and other large landscape spaces. The replacement of 50 million square feet of lawn statewide with what's called drought-tolerant landscaping, a rebate program to encourage the purchase of water-saving appliances and requiring new homes to use drip irrigation. In past droughts, it was fairly easy to greatly reduce water usage because per capita it was fairly high, Parker says. The problem this time around is that many Californians have already been conserving water, so we'll need to ratchet things up somehow. Well, thanks. Don't tell us how or anything. Well, of course, it's time. Do we have any music for this? Of course, we've got Ku Klux Klan news. Yeah. There you go. It's time for the Ku Klux Klan news. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. What the hell am I doing? The Klan isn't Irish, Jenny. Well, yes, it is time on Coffee and Cigarettes for the Ku Klux Klan news. And you might have thought we already gave it to you with that organ donor recipient who ended up dying in a police chase. But no, that wasn't actually the Klan story. The Klan story today takes us to Tallahassee, Florida. Prison employees with Klan ties are arrested in a murder plot. Well, two current and former prison employees who are members of the traditional American Knights of the Ku Klux Klan are accused of plotting to kill a black inmate upon his release from prison, officials said today. Thomas Jordan Driver, 25, of Lake City, Florida, David Elliott Moran, 47, of Lake Butler, Florida, and Charles Thomas Newcomb, 42, of Keystone Heights, Florida, were arrested today and charged with one state count each of conspiracy to commit murder, according to a statement from Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi's office. Driver and Morgan are former Florida Department of Corrections employees. Newcomb is a former member of the department as well. Pam, you could have just said all three were former members of the... Well, according to the Florida Attorney General's office, they came up with a plot to kill an inmate in retaliation for a fight between an inmate and driver. The case will be tried in Columbia County, North Florida. We're moving swiftly to terminate the employees arrested today and working closely with the offices of the Attorney General, of course, to assist in their prosecution. Our department has zero tolerance for racism. Well, wait a minute. You're moving swiftly to terminate them? I thought you just said they were former employees. Do they work for you? Do they not work for you? Do they?
Yes.
Are they alive? Are they dead? What is the deal? Yes. Well, they're working swiftly to have them removed. Well, no, they're working swiftly to have them arrested. Is what they're doing. Yes, our department has zero tolerance for racism or prejudice of any kind these days, she says. The actions of these individuals is unacceptable and do not in any way represent the tens of thousands of hardworking Ku Klux Klan members across the world. Or the good, hardworking, honorable correctional officers employed throughout Florida. Yeah. Well, the wide-ranging investigation included FBI, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, and various state and local agencies. The FBI's office in Jacksonville said it would not comment on an open investigation. Driver, hired July 2010, received written reprimands in April of 2012 for willful violations of rules, and another reprimand again in June 2012 for absence without authorized leave. Moran, hired in January of 96, received written reprimands in October of 99 and February of 2006 for conduct unbecoming of a public employee, according to the Department of Corrections. Have these guys not seen any prison movies? You know? The prison movies tell you the way it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, he was also cited in May 2010 for abuse of sick leave. Newcomb, who was arrested in February for impersonating a cop, is being held in the Alachua County Jail on an out-of-country warrant with a $750,000 bond. Jail records show he was hired as a corrections trainee in October 2012, but washed out by January 2013. How the hell do you wash out from being a prison guard? I mean, seriously, how do you wash out from that? I don't get it. The charges for the three men mark the latest black eye for Florida Corrections racial department. Or the, yes. No, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. It's the racial Florida Corrections Department.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, last fall, corrections officials fired nearly 50 prison employees, including several over allegations that they punched and beat black inmates. Death of inmates Randall Jordan Aparo and Darren Rainey also drew attention. Rainey, a mentally ill prisoner, was punished in 2012 with a shower so hot that his skin separated from his body. Jordan Aparo was reportedly gassed while in a confinement cell. See, this is the kind of gold we don't see in the movies, you know? you just don't get that kind of entertainment from Hollywood.
Yes.
It sucks.
The music is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta hear it.
Oh, we hear the damn music, Louis. Yeah. See, Arnold can hear the damn music. Why can't you?
Yes.
No. Oh, wait a minute. No, you can hear the music. That's right. Okay, I'm confused.
It's about fucking time. Move on.
All right, well, moving on. Well, of course, there's more religious freedom bill news. Yes, we've got to have that again. Well, it's not bad. No, they've just gone ahead and passed that racist anti-LGBT bill. Yeah. You know, that bill that doesn't mention anything about discrimination,
yes.
Doesn't mention anything about LGBT, doesn't mention anything about racism,
yes.
doesn't mention anything about discrimination, doesn't mention anything about, well, Oprah.
Yes.
Well, in Little Rock, Arkansas today, a state house committee has indeed, thank you very much, passed the new religious freedom bill. They did that today, and it was aimed at quelling criticism that the actions are targeting LGBT constituents for discrimination. Now, that bill is now headed to the full House. On Wednesday, just hours after Governor Anna Hutchison announced that he wouldn't sign the House Bill 1228 in its current form, Republicans in the House and Senate drafted amendments to two other bills in hopes of keeping Religious Freedom Restoration Act alive in Arkansas. The bill would prohibit state and local government from infringing upon someone's religious beliefs without compelling reason. Yeah, that's the actual law. No LGBT here. No. Well, Hutchison asked lawmakers to recall the bill and amend it or pass a follow-up measure that would make the proposal more closely mirror a federal religious freedom law, which says the exact same freaking thing. Yeah. Well, yeah. They settled on a plan that adds the act as a subchapter in two different existing bills, adding language that, quote, this act be interpreted consistent with the federal RFRA Act of 93. There we go. That's all they did. They didn't change the actual language of it, which, of course, doesn't mention gays, lesbians, LGBT, discrimination, nothing. Oh, how do we as a state communicate to the world that we are respectful of a diverse workplace and we want to be known as a state that does not discriminate but understands tolerance? Hutchison said to reporters at the state capitol today. That is the challenge we face. Well, Hutchison was the second governor in as many days to give a ground to opponents of the law. Since signing Indiana's law last week, Governor Mike Pence and his fellow Republicans in the legislature have been subjected to sharp criticism from around the country, obviously by folks who can't freaking read. Well, Hutchison has faced pressure from the state's largest employers, including retail giant Walmart. Businesses called the bill discriminatory and said it would hurt Arkansas's image. Hutchison noted that his own son, Seth, had signed a petition urging him to veto the bill. Poor little Seth can't read neither. Now, this is a bill that in ordinary times would not be controversial, the governor said. Or, well, these are not ordinary times, he went on as saying, but it would help if people could read these days. Well, the bill comes just 5 days after Hutchison receives it unless he vetoes the proposal, and even if he does issue a veto, lawmakers can override it with a simple majority. And originally passed, neither the Arkansas bill or Indiana law specifically mentions in any way, shape, or form lesbians, gays, bisexuals, or transgendered people. But opponents have voiced concern that the language contained in them could offer a legal defense to businesses and other institutions that refuse to serve gays, such as caterers, florists, or photographers. With, of course, religious objections to same-sex marriage. Well, here's a little clue for you, LGBTers. I can think of about 400 different reasons not to serve you, and none of them have got to do with anything that you're whining about in any of the laws, nationally, state, or locally. Thank you. And here's my de facto drop in the bucket, caught me by surprise one, too. So you're a photographer and we'd like you to photograph our wedding? Oh, what day is it? Well, June 12th. Oh, shit. I'm completely booked up that entire day. I've got 6 jobs to do. Well, there you go. I don't have to... Well, I'm going to point, of course, to the Religious Freedoms Act, and I'm going to tell you to go F yourselves.
Yes.
No, I don't have to do that. I'm just busy that day. Yeah. But you see, it's companies like Walmart. They're kind of screwed because that they can't say they're busy that day.
Yes.
Right? But no, seriously. I mean, this whole thing is completely ridiculous, and I'm surprised they didn't pick the Oil Pipeline Act or something. Because seriously, they're reading into that just as much as they would be reading into this. We're not hiring you because you're religious. We're not hiring you for anything other than the fact that you're gay. Oh, yes, you're gay. Oh, okay. That's my Twitter hashtag today. You're gay. No way. There you go. That's what I'm going to do right there. Well, hey, that's not all we got on the show today because we are running along today, damn it. I want to say hey to the Mr. Opocalypse at the Spreaker.com live chat room. Nice to see you again, Apocalypse, Mr. Bowen. Yeah, so what else have I got for you today? Well, I've got an interesting story, a very interesting story. Did you know, and I did not know this, did you know, well, actually, Arnold. I'm going to ask Arnold because Arnold's going to be our food expert. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. You're our food expert here. Did you know that iced tea can lead to kidney failure?
Never, no.
You didn't?
Never, no.
Okay. All right. Well, guess what? It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, a man's kidney failure has been linked to his excessive iced tea habit. But don't worry, you're probably not approaching the danger zone. The 56-year-old Arkansas man was drinking 16 glasses of the stuff every day at Ku Klux Klan meetings. Yep. Well, that was amounting to a gallon every day. This report comes to us, of course, from the Associated Press. Black tea contains a lot of a compound called oxalate, which can lead to kidney issues. From Live Science, they say it's bad. Okay. Well, with 16 cups of tea daily, the patient's daily consumption of oxalate was more than 15,000, thank you, milligrams. Yeah. And that level is higher than the average American intake by a factor of roughly 3 to 10, scientists say. The man was hospitalized last year, and his urine contained lots of the calcium oxalate crystals involved in kidney stones. He was put on dialysis, and he may be on it for life, doctors note. We're not advising against tea consumption, the researcher says. If you're healthy and drink tea with moderation, it should not cause damage to your kidneys. In fact, past studies have actually suggested that a more reasonable amount of tea can actually fight kidney stones. An outside researcher tells Reuters still, many of us apparently consume too much oxalate, full stop, which can be found in spinach, chocolate, nuts, wheat bran, and other foods. While experts don't recommend going beyond 50 milligrams per day, the average American consumes only 152 to 511 milligrams. Oh, wait, that's light years past what it should be, right? So the moral of this story, of course, is stop drinking tea or we're all going to die.
Yes.
There you go. That's really it. We're just done. We're just done. And finally today, I'm going to tell you, well, it's kind of an interesting, kind of / scary, kind of WTF. Oh, I don't know really what to make of this one. Story comes to us from Wilmington, Delaware. 3 members of a Delaware family, including 2 teenagers who remain unconscious, are still in critical condition from poisoning by a banned pesticide last month at their luxury condo in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Steve Esmond, a top administrator in private Tatnall School in Greenville, Delaware, has regained consciousness finally at Christiana Hospital. But sons Ryan and Sean, both Tatnall students, are in a Philadelphia hospital where they still have not awakened, said James J. Marin, a Wilmington, Delaware attorney who has been authorized to speak on their behalf. Their mother, Dr. Teresa Devine, has been released from the hospital, said Marin, whose family was vacationing on the Caribbean island of St. John, along with other Delaware families, including the Esmonds, when they were stricken March 20th. Marin said that the Esmonds were great fighters, and we continue to be vigilant and optimistic they will fully recover. Esmond, 49, is head of Tatnall's middle school, and his sons are in the 9th and 11th grades. Devine is a dentist who practices in Broomall, PA, about 25 miles northeast of Wilmington. The Esmonds were poisoned by a pesticide, methyl bromide, which was sprayed by employees of Terminix on March 18th in the condominium beneath the unit rented by the Esmond family at the $800 a night Siren USA resort overlooking Cruz Bay, a resort official said. Methyl bromide is an odorless fumigant, can be fatal or cause serious central nervous system and respiratory system damage, according to the U.S. EPA, because of the chemical's acute toxicity. Methyl bromide is now banned indoors and permitted only for a limited agricultural uses by trained applicators, the EPA said. Now, despite the ban, the pesticide was applied inside units at Siren USA resorts to deal with the indoor bugs, says Judith Enck, administrator for the EPA's Region 2, which includes the Virgin Islands, a U.S. territory. While the Edmonds struggle to recover, the U.S. Department of Justice has launched a criminal investigation into Terminix's use of the pesticide at the resort, according to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's filing Monday by ServiceMaster Global Holdings, Inc. of course, the parent company of Terminix. Meanwhile, environmental regulators in the Virgin Islands have issued a stop-use order against Terminix for using metho gas indoors at the Siren USA resorts in October and again on March 18th, 2 days before the Esmond family began having seizures and had to be hospitalized. After becoming ill, the couple and their sons were rushed to the Virgin Island hospitals and airlifted back to the United States by March 23rd. U.S. Senator Chris Coons, a Democrat from Delaware, and a close friend of the family, helped the EPA get involved. Marin said he can't comment further on the cause of the family's poisoning because it's a criminal investigation. Peter Tosches, senior vice president for Terminix, issued a statement today on Twitter.
Yes.
That said that the company was conducting an internal investigation and cooperating with investigators. Period. We're thinking about the family, and we join the community in wishing them a speedy recovery, Tosches said in a statement. Please, God, don't sue us. Please, God, oh God in heaven, don't sue us. Well, gang, that's the all night in New York again, Jenny. Really? We're going to do that? Okay, well, hey. That's about all we got for you on the big show today, the Thursday Double-Double, coffee and cigarettes, for this Thursday, the 2nd of April, 2015. You know what? It's 65 degrees in Central Park right now and sunny. I'm going out and getting some.
Yes.
Yeah. Wanted to thank the one, the only Louis Lawless for popping by on the show today. Thank you, sir.
Oh, my God, he's becoming black. I like it. Do a little rap here, too.
What, because I said sir? Oh, okay. All right. Gilbert, thank you. Without your laughter, the show would suck some serious butt.
Thank you for listening and support the show for the love of God.
And once again, thank you to my good friend, pal, 7-time Mr. Olympia champion, the one, the only Arnold Schwarzenegger, the governor, the Terminator. There he is.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, and I'll be back.
Yeah, you always say that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. On behalf of all of us at HTLA, have yourselves a great Thursday. One more till the big Friday, so that's what we're looking at. And I'm going to the park with, you know what? I'm going to go to the park with Jenny. Going to make her topless.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're in and around the New York area, come by Central Park in about 40 minutes to see Jenny topless. You watch, now there'd be like 400,000 guys there.
Yes.
Again, a reminder, if you haven't, checked out HTLARadio1.com. All the great shows are there and so much more. So check it out, and we'll catch you all next time.
You've got it locked to HTLA Radio 1, New York.